Hey Book Pals, I am back with a review of Kristin Hannah's The Women. If you have not read this book, stop watching now because I'm about to give you a bunch of spoilers. So, if you've read it, I'm wondering if you found the same big flaw that I did. I still gave this book 5 stars. It is a Kristin Hannah. She's an automatic read for me. I thoroughly enjoyed the book, and I gave it 5 stars because it is a historical fiction that is so well researched, as are all her books. This book taught me so much about a time in history that I have never been interested in before. In fact, I put off reading this book because I specifically didn't want to read about Vietnam. If you see my other videos, you know that I am very into British lit and not into American lit at all. And part of that is because I don't like American history. So I do push myself from time to time to read American lit, to try to read some historical fiction specifically based in time periods that I'm not comfortable reading about. Like, for instance, my favorite Kristin Hannah book, The Four Winds, is about the Dust Bowl, another era that I never wanted to read about. It sounded so boring. What I had learned in school was boring, and I just wasn't interested. It became like my new favorite topic after I read her book because it was so well researched. Same with The Women. The Women taught me so much about nurses in Vietnam, how vets were treated when they came back to the country, and specifically how women who served our country as nurses, how they were treated when they came back, not just by the general population that was so anti-Vietnam that treated them like they were traitors, but also by people who didn't even know that there were women in Vietnam serving as nurses, people that regarded them as not really having served because they were quote unquote just nurses, they weren't like active, and even by the vet services that they were not privy to because they were women. So what do you mean you have PTSD? No. First of all, there were no women in Vietnam was their first thing. And then second always was, but you weren't active. And so these women came back so scarred from the experience, just the same way as the soldiers had, but they had no services available to them. And their entire experience was invalidated. So that part of the book was phenomenal. 5 stars through and through, 6 stars on the historical part. I mean, for that alone, you should read it. But as all Kristin Hannah books have in them, there is a love story, a story of characters, a story of family, the loss of her brother, the dealing with her parents. All of that was phenomenal. Frankie has 2 love interests in this book. Well, 3. The first one, Rye, is somebody, well, he wasn't the first one. Jamie was the first one, technically. She met Rye first. But, Jamie, the doctor, she really likes him. They are clearly in love. And she loses him. He dies. He comes back. She works on him when he comes back injured. And it's clear that he's not going to make it. And she has to send him to, another place to get help. And she knows he's not going to make it. And so she loses Jamie. Doesn't hear from him ever again, obviously presumed dead. Then she meets Rye, who she had met before her brother had gone to war and gotten killed. She meets Rye at a party again. They reconnect, and Jamie had been married, so they could never be together because, they were married and she's a good girl. So fast forward, she's recovering from the death of Jamie and she runs into Rye again. Super lustful feelings for each other. They're totally into one another. However, she finds out that he is engaged, and so she immediately is like, that's not going to work for me. He finds her on an off weekend and at the beach in Hawaii and tells her I broke up with my fiance. I really want to be with you, blah, blah, blah. They start dating. Everything looks like they're going to come back and be together. So she comes back home when she's finished serving, and she's writing to him and writing to him and writing to him, and he never responds. And so she goes and visits his dad, who then lets it slip that he just received notice that his sons, Rye's helicopter had been shot down, and they're all presumed dead because no remains were found or whatever. And so she loses Rye as well. Devastating. Now she has lost 2 people that she loves. She cannot get over this loss of Rye. Eventually finds somebody, Henry, who she connects with at some level. He's a nice guy. They're having like an intimate relationship. She gets pregnant, and she decides like he's like a guy, I'm going to marry him, whatever. She's planning her wedding, and lo and behold, on the news there is this segment about a list of prisoners of war. My dog is about to start whining. Hey, Mia, sit. There's news about this prisoner of war. These prisoners of war who are being released, they have been presumed dead, and Rye is on that list. Like, oh my God. So now she's about to get married, but this guy's back in her life, and that's the guy that she's always loved. And so she runs off to meet him when he arrives back in the States. And y'all, gets off that plane, and he runs straight into the arms of a woman and a baby. He wasn't engaged. Like, he had a full wife and kid at home. And so she realizes like she's been lied to. This is like another death, right? Like finding out that this man you love has not been dead. You have this chance with him again. And then you find out like he's a cheater, a liar. Everything I know about him is a lie. And so it's like a second death of Rye for her. She's so devastated she loses the baby and breaks things off with Henry. Rye comes back in her life and is like, no, she's all I had, and I was so lonely, and blah, 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 and she was there for me, she's a good woman, and blah, blah. They start seeing each other. She's like okay with being the other woman for a while. And then they go to a wedding, and Rye's like, no, this is what I want. Like, I'm breaking things off with her. We're going to be together. I want to marry you. And she believes him. Only to find one day at the hospital, like she realizes his wife is in the hospital in the maternity ward. She just gave birth to another kid. Like, he's duped her again. That's when her life really derails. This whole time she has been relying on alcohol to like numb the pain and the memories of Vietnam. She's become an alcoholic. She's abusing drugs. She gets in this accident and almost kills somebody. After she and Rye break up or whatever, and she realizes what's happening, she finally gets the help she needs. And it's actually the guy she was going to marry that like treated her after her accident and was like, what you have is PTSD, like we can get you help for that. And so she gets the help she needs. So gets help for alcoholism, for PTSD. She's doing great. The story could have ended there. Because she was doing great. She's starting her new life. She's gotten the help she needs. She's realized Rye was never good for her. She can go on and find a new love. And in all this, like, her parents finally recognized what she had done, the contribution she made for her country, that she served, and she is a hero. And she's gotten like all those pegs in order, right? Like, we could end the book here. It's phenomenal. But no, in the last 2 or 3 chapters, well, actually it's the last chapter, who pops up in her life but like she's at a reunion and she turns around, she hears a voice call her name, and it's Jamie back from the dead. Like, he recovered from his accident, from his wound, which was a fatal wound, by the way. Like, there was no way he was going to make it out of that, but he did. He got he got fixed up. He has like a limp, like a permanent injury from Vietnam. Came back to the States to his wife, had their life together, but they both realized what he had known from the beginning, that like, while she was a great person, this was never going to work out. They weren't right for each other, and they divorced. And now he's completely available for her, and he's so glad he sees her because now they can be together. And this is how the book ends. Be so for real. Like, most women have a hard time finding a man that can call for a second date, much less rising to from the dead. Like, it was too much for me to swallow. I know that some people love that kind of a plot twist over and over again. Like, that seems fantastical to them in the best way. To me, it sounds fantastical in a way that I can't believe. And if she had ended it with just Frankie recovering, I think I would have been 100% happy with this book. It would have been a 6-star read for me. It could have been my favorite Kristin Hannah book ever. But the fact that you rose another one from the dead, like, nobody gets that chance twice in a lifetime. Nobody. Like, I just thought it was so unnecessary. Like, too happy ending for me, I guess, for Kristin Hanna. Like, there's always, and all her books kind of have something like that at the end, right? That you're like, no way. But like, I felt like we had already had that no way moment when Rai comes back from the dead because he was a prisoner of war and not really dead. Like, that was already our like no way moment. Like, I don't think that my brain handled the two no way moments in one Kristin Hanna book. I just felt like it wasn't needed. Like, but I'm not a best-selling author, so what do I know? I just thought that part was unnecessary for me, and it kind of like dimmed the light on this book a bit for me because it stopped being about Frankie personally, like as a person and as a woman specifically, because this book is about the women of Vietnam. It just stopped being about Frankie the woman and went back to like Frankie somebody's mate, like, I don't know. I thought it cheapened it for me. So I was getting like the strong feminist empowerment feeling towards the end, and then that happens, and I was like, okay, you go back to being somebody else's girl, somebody else's love interest. Like she wasn't complete until she had a man, is how it felt. Like, I was loving the Frankie whose dad had just recognized, like, you're doing great, like, you are such a hero, I'm sorry I didn't see that. I just saw such a strong woman, and then I felt like you gave her another love interest back because, like, did she not feel complete to you there? I don't know. Probably reading too much into it, but once an English major, always an English major. So that's my take on the women. I do still highly recommend this book. I will be reading up on Vietnam and the women of Vietnam much more. It's probably going to be in my next nonfiction that I buy will be about Vietnam. I did not expect to be so interested in this part of history. So that is going to be my biggest win from this book. I mean, I'm open to discussion on this topic, but that's why it's not my favorite. My favorite is still The Four Winds. I thought that book was her best writing so far. I felt like that was the most realistic, and I felt like my mother's heart bled in The Four Winds. But The Women still got 5 stars. So there you have it. My unqualified take on Kristin Hanna's latest book. Let me know what you think. Bye.